Reddit, what's your best funniest personal example of petty revenge? I once had a colleague I hated. He was very condescending and really arrogant. So I put an extra Bluetooth receiver in his computer for a computer mouse and kept the mouse in my drawer. I would just open my drawer and it would mess his shit right up. Kept it going for like 2 months. He was about to murder the world when I thought I better stop. I once pulled this same trick on a co-worker over the course of 6 months. We pulled pranks on each other a lot and I would never mess with it when he was busy. One day he gets fed up and throws his mouse and keyboard on the ground, stomping on them and yelling. Then he looks at me, beet red, and asks if I had anything to do with it. I stare at him shocked and after a few seconds he breaks down laughing. Turns out he recently found the receiver and so went and got a broken keyboard and mouse from recycling so that he could prank me back. I guess you could say he sure did get his petty revenge on me cause he really freaked me out. My wife is very picky about the mugs she has for different hot drinks. Tall mugs for coffee, wide mugs for tea, dainty cups for fruit teas. When she's being irritating and asks for a cuppa she gets very plain, boring builder's mugs and I delight at the mild irritation it brings. The most British thing I've ever read. When I was a kid I got the Sabrina the Teenage Witch handbook. It was full of kiddie experiments and stuff and was pretty fun. My older sister had upset or annoyed me about something. So I tried out one of the tricks from the book. You fill a cup with water and some corn kernels. Put some tin foil on top of the cup. The kernels eventually pop and it makes noise against the tin foil. I put it under her bed. It takes a few days to work. So I completely forgot about it. Until one night I woke up to my 2 sisters whispering it had popped in the middle of the night and she thought there was a rat under her bed. I had a guy in school who would always skip class and then ask for my notes. We had a group project worth almost 40% of our grade and he did 0 work. And the prof told me tough luck. Instead of just saying no the next time he asked for notes, I took the low road and began giving him. Listing a PlayStation 4 as brand new on multiple second-hand goods websites. For $50. I used my old landlord's phone number as the contact number. Cos frick that guy. He had to change numbers. This happened to my so when he was at university. Another comment here reminded me of it. His class were doing presentations in pairs. And he got paired with some girl who didn't bother to bring notes or research information for their presentation. She instead let him do all the work. And any slides she did were made from his notes and research. He complained to his tutor and she told him, "Don't worry. Leave it to me." And then the day of the presentation comes. They present. And then at the end the tutor asks the girl a question. If I remember correctly the question was something like, is there any evidence to suggest that some cultures are more prone to mental health problems? And the girl answered no. The tutor then asked my so the exact same question. And because he'd actually read the research on the topic, he was able to list of several studies that showed that some cultures are in fact more prone to mental health issues. The girl glared at him the entire time he answered the tutor's question. Pretty sure she ended up with a D, while he got an A or B. Edit. Change whilst to while. As requested. My boyfriend's uncle and 7-year-old cousin live upstairs from us. His cousin has a tendency to be a little brat. I was holding her Yorkie when she came over and yanked her from my arms. No more than 20 minutes later I went out and bought some dog treats. Every day when I come home I give the dog a treat. Now the dog waits by our door instead of hers. Back when I was studying engineering, it occurred to me to try and find an app on my iPhone for those Panasonic projectors in lecture rooms. So I get the app and it just let me connect to the one in the class without a password or anything. I have a friend who is one of those perpetual pranksters. You can't leave your PC or bag or food drink unattended when he's around. So I beam a picture of him onto the projector. So the lecturer is just talking away and this goofy picture of my mate is on the screen. Lecturer doesn't realize yet. People in the lecture start waking up and giggling a bit. Now I use the pen function and draw all penis on the picture too. Mate was red in the face and trying to hide. Lecturer finally noticed and says, "Michael, why is there a picture of you on the screen?" Finally, for a fleeting moment, I actually read that fricker. Posted this previously. My ex cheated with a married man. He now lives with her. He is a pose. But anyway, I still have login for her DVR. I logged in, erased all her shows, then recorded only the show. Cheaters. Petty. But it makes me laugh. When I was a kid, I had a bedwetting problem. I'm not ashamed of this now, as thousands of other kids have had the same problems. At the time, however, this was humiliating. My younger brother started telling other kids around school how extensive the issue was. I was mortified. Even after our mother told him to knock it off, he continued. So I decided to level the playing field. The whole hand and cup of warm water deal didn't work. I stood over him as he slept one night and pissed on him. The next morning, my mom was horrified and wound up taking a call from my grandmother. Double quote. "I don't know what to do. Now both of them are piecing the bed," she explained, clearly frustrated. After a few more times of framing my brother as a bedwetter, he completely stopped using my embarrassing problem as entertainment. In college, early 1990s, I lived with several guys in a suite. One liked to call me Chunky A. Yes, I was chubby. I still am. But I have lost a lot of weight and I am continue to lose more. I asked him politely but firmly to not call me that. He laughed and did it more. I proceeded to call up every infomiracle I saw on TV to send him baldness cures. He was losing his hair. Tourist information from places like Iowa and Nebraska. Had information sent to him about adult bedwetting, etc. He accused me of it. And I told him. Why would I do such a thing to him? I kept it up for 2 years while he lived in the dorms. His junior year, he moved out to an off-campus place. I found out where he lived and I waited a couple of months and started it all over again. Yeah. I bombarded him with junk mail. Obligatory. Not me. But this is a little long, but one of my all-time favorites. In Texas, there is a law that allows the US to take certain possessions to satisfy a debt owed, such as from a lawsuit. So this defendant had been committing Medicare fraud. Got caught. Has to pay back the money. He's also a total prick during the lawsuit, obstructionist, rude, etc. When the US finally has its judgment and he's pleading poverty, the US attorney that ran the suit basically ends up walking through the impoverished guy's multi-million-dollar house to handpick what is going to be seized. He takes the big ticket items that he's allowed. But it's not going to be enough, so then he just starts taking little shit to PSS the guy off. Book half read on the nightstand? Gone. Can't take the garage, but you can take the garage door opener. So, gone. I don't know what else he took, but I think the idea is brilliant. The book would PSS me off so much. Work related. My co-worker was always complaining and always lazy with his work. Yet he got recognition for the simplest thing he would actually do. He also took credit for a full day's work that was pretty much all me. I always got ignored. So one day, I came in early and I unplugged his Ethernet jack just barely to the point it looked like it was still plugged into his computer. For 4 hours he couldn't do any work. Meanwhile, I got my work done. And he couldn't take any credit for it since everyone knew he didn't have internet access. Halfway through the day, he left on break. I plugged it back in and bam. Just like this, it was working. By then, he couldn't claim my work. And I begun to get noticed more. Close bracket. When I was about 13, I was snooping around my older brother's room and found a stack of $20 bills stashed away. He was saving up from his high school job to buy a car. Hundreds of dollars. To 13-year-old me it was a fortune. And I figured he wouldn't notice if I stole just $120, still a lot of money to me. So I did. For years I would remember it every once in a while and feel guilty. The worst part was, when I took the $20, He was also a teenage kid and probably knew exactly how much money was there. He probably knew I took one but let me get away with it because he figured I needed it. That made me feel much worse. 15 years later, I'm hanging around with him on the holidays. I see that he left his wallet on the counter. And he's upstairs. I sneak into his wallet. See, there's a few 20s. And I slide an extra one in there. Got him. In 7th grade I used to take homemade lunch to school. We prepared our own salad dressing, lemon juice, salt, oil, etc. And one kid decided it would be good to steal it and drink it before lunchtime. I asked him not to, but he continued to drink it, but started doing so in one gulp, so I couldn't stop him. So instead of making a huge deal, I prepared 2 salad dressings. One that I would actually use on my salad, and another that had all the liquid condiments I could find in my mom's kitchen. It was really fun to see his face as he drank it. He never stole my salad dressing again. I worked in a fish factory most summers when I was in my teens. And there was a boy who also worked there one summer who was an arsehole and a bully. I and another girl were his main targets. And this was really disgusting verbal bullying. Sexual and racial in nature. The other girl was of mixed race. He would yell his insults over the factory announcement system whenever he didn't have enough work to keep him busy. The foreman refused to get involved. So we took action. One day, we finished work before he did. And spotted his car out in the parking lot, his dad's car. Actually, we looked at each other. Went back into the building. Got several rolls of toilet paper and a packet of menstrual pads and decorated the car with them. The car was seen by many of our co-workers, some of whom also witnessed the decorating and cheered us on. Once he got out, he just stood there, blushing and embarrassed and wondering who could have done this to him. He was very subdued at work after that and the bullying nearly stopped. I hope because what we did made them realize what it felt like to be at the victim's end of it. Best thing about it was that everyone, including his brother, knew who had done it. And no one told him. A woman I work with literally stole this great story that I tell about me being in the same hospital at the same time that my niece was born. She tells it as it was her husband and she was in the hospital giving birth. She's a known one-upper. Everything you do she did it better. Faster. It was worse for her etc, so it didn't surprise me when a co-worker told me she regularly tells clients that story. So now, every single day as I get in I pour a tiny bit of my water bottle out on her desk, chair or on the carpet somewhere in her office. In my mind mold is slowly growing in her office. Her skirt gets wet when she sits down or any fresh documents she sits on her desk get sat right in the small puddle of water. In 3rd grade I was falsely accused by the hall monitor of talking during quiet time. Even after my dad came in and talked to the teacher, she still punished me by keeping me from watching a movie and eating the cinnamon bread with everyone else. So the day before the class watched the movie and ate snacks. I unplugged the bread makers right before we left school so no one would get any. I figured if I can't have it, no one can. High school. We were in history class. I really had to go to the bathroom. A girl was already out and we were only allowed to leave one at a time. Fine. However, this girl often goes to the bathroom then just hangs out and is gone for like 30 minutes. So after 20 minutes I had to really go. I asked to use the bathroom. Denied. Teacher said someone was out already. I said she has been out for almost the entire class. I need to go. Someone texts the girl. She appears. Looks pissed. Yells at me in the hall. Petty revenge. She was trying to become our homeroom class president. Not really a serious position. But it was leadership and college apps usually need some kind of leadership spot. So it was an easy check mark on the app. Class was about 30 kids. 2 people were running. That girl and another. They said their 2-minute speeches. At the point where we cast our votes, I had a little group of the class, friends, vote for another one of us. A guy she hated and this guy gave no fricks about anything. So he won as a write-in. He was elected and she lost her little checkbox to a guy that didn't even want a spot. IDK if it made a difference. But I knew she thought that her college chances just decreased. A guy owed me money. But I wasn't immediately worried because we had done transactions before. This was a transaction via USPS. He started dodging me, ignoring calls and messages and all. But stayed active on Facebook, just ignoring me and deleting my comments and posts. After 3 months, getting progressively more impatient, I had had enough. I got the notification to approve him as a member of a Facebook group I'm in. I approved him. Then made a big post in the group putting him on blast for it. Tag and everything. I then added his mom and sister on Facebook and sent them messages. Mind you, the guy is in his 30s. He messaged me about it. And things are getting resolved. If it slips again. However, I'm calling his work. Working for Amazon and committing mail fraud probably don't go well together. When I was traveling with a mate in India, we had a falling out over something very minor. He hid my journal and denied all knowledge of its disappearance all day. In retaliation, I hid his passport and got the journal back within an hour. It was in a sofa cushion. We're still buds now. My roommate used to leave his heater on full freaking blast when he would sleep, and I'll give you one guess who paid the electric bill. He would sometimes forget to turn it off for work, which of course made me even more mad. One day I had enough. Instead of being an adult and asking him to turn it down and or off when he left, I pulled the heater off the wall and unwired it. No shit, he spent about 3 hours trying to figure out how to fix it. I was so satisfied when he couldn't get it to work. He literally had to plug 2 wires back in.